Keepers time now on the programme. Dipty's here on set. Dipty, you're looking at this incredibly bizarre story. Well, that's what I thought when I first saw it at the weekend. These reports from North Korea that the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, could pay a visit soon. I mean, it seems a complete juxtaposition, this.
That's right. And it sort of came out of left field on Sunday while we're talking about Donald Trump's on-again, off-again summit in Singapore with Kim Jong-un. Well, Bashar al-Assad has apparently come out and said he's going to visit Pyongyang. It hasn't been confirmed by the Syrian government, it must be said. It has. This news is being reported by the North Korean state-run news media. But the New York Times does note that the two leaders have a lot in common. Both are inheritants of political dynasties that are isolated internationally, and both do want to develop powerful weapons. If it does transpire, it will be the first time that Kim hosts a foreign leader on his home ground. So it will be a significant, maybe even a historic visit. The pan-Arab London-based paper al-Assad is not impressed. So in this opinion piece here, the paper accuses Assad of trying to jump on Kim Jong-un's boat to avoid international isolation. But they say it's, quote, unclear how Kim, who himself sort of needs saving, is even able to assist Assad in this.
Let's have a French story for you now on the programme. Le Monde is reporting that the Secretary-General of the Élysée Palace is facing a corruption inquiry.
That's right, Stuart. His name is Alexis Kohler, and he is kind of, think of him as Emmanuel Macron's chief of staff. He is Secretary General of the Élysée Palace. He is in some ways, his right-hand man. Le Monde says he's the target of an inquiry into conflict of interest and possibly corruption. This all linked to the close ties between Kohler and the MSC, which is an Italian-Swiss cruise company whose founders are relatives of Kohler's family. Now, during a brief period in 2016, he was the financial director of the company. That very same company was the main client and sometimes the only client for French naval construction sites. So Anticor, which is the French anti-corruption watchdog, well, they now want to know now if he did indeed at all use his influence in those trades.
Okay, one to follow, I'm sure. Now, Dipsy's also found a piece from the Washington Post now. Now, this is looking at the brain drain in Venezuela.
Well, every now and then we do get these pieces about what reality is like in Venezuela, because it is, with all the other news, sometimes it does get slipped to the bottom of the pile. But this is a really interesting story talking about how the population now has been facing food shortages, chronic unemployment, and a bolivar that's worth virtually nothing for many, many months now. Venezuela is, as a result, facing a mass exodus of engineers, doctors, oil workers, given that this oil is their main export, bus workers or bus drivers, electricians, and in particular, teachers. And this is having a huge impact on the education of Venezuelan kids. This year, 48,000 teachers quit, and most of them have left Venezuela. That's 12% of the teaching staff in elementary and high schools across Venezuela. In their absence, school moms are filling in, but obviously it's not doing the job. Elsewhere, universities are shutting down departments like languages and engineering departments because there are just no more professors around. As educated Venezuelans, many of them heading to Peru, which just 2 decades ago was much poorer than Venezuela.
Okay, imagine what's going to happen next. We're going to talk about tennis now on the programme. This is the front of L'Equipe, which is talking about France's remaining hope in Roland Garros, which of course is happening here in Paris at the moment. But a superstar match at the French Open today. Now this pits two great rivals, Maria Sharapova and Serena Williams, doesn't it?
A deep rivalry dating back many years now. Both were, of course, former world #1s. Both are dominant women on and off the court. Both are also coming off long absences, Stuart. Maria Sharapova through suspension and Williams through maternity leave. Now they're playing each other for the first time since 2016, as the French sports paper L'Equipe notes, with Williams having won 19 of their previous 21 matches. So Sharapova is no doubt hoping to turn the tide in her favor. But the Telegraph, the British Daily Telegraph, explains that their rivalry is legendary. Most recently, in her autobiography, Maria Sharapova made some pretty derogatory references about Serena Williams' physique. She then claimed that their feud stems from Sharapova defeating Williams back in 2004 in the Wimbledon final when she was virtually unknown. Williams, for her part, says she's baffled by the claims and adds that she was surprised to read Sharapova's autobiography that referred to her, Serena, 100 times.
Sparks will fly. Full of them actually later on. Finally from Dipti, a daring escape. I read about this yesterday, but I haven't actually seen the pictures. Now, this is the escape of a crayfish from the jaws of death. Is that right?
That's right, from the jaws of death of a Taiwanese restaurant. You can pick your choice of adjectives describing this crayfish. Plucky, audacious, heroic, desperate maybe. The crustacean actually became a viral star in China after it escaped being cooked alive at a Taiwanese restaurant. It was being cooked in the hot pot when the crayfish clambered out of the hot pot, tore off one of its own claws in the process, and then made a run for it across the dinner table. The diner who was meant to eat the crayfish ended up adopting him as a pet and keeps him now in an aquarium at home. Luckily for the crayfish, it appears that he may even be able to grow back that lost claw. So
oh, really?
That's right, it does happen. A happy ending, a cray-t escape, the Daily Mail says.
Yes.
I've seen cray-cray as well.
Ages making that one up. Oh, lucky escape. Excellent stuff. Nice to have some positive news, especially if you're a crayfish. On France 24, Dipti with the papers. In the next half hour of the programme, as France once again considers its laws on euthanasia, nothing to do with crayfish, obviously. We report from Belgium, where it was decriminalised in 2002. And in 2014, Belgium even became the first country in the world to allow euthanasia for minors. That's coming up in the next half hour.